Get ready for the least controversial statement anybody has ever said about productivity. Planning your week ahead of time is the key to having a successful week. You might be saying, duh, right now. In fact, when I surveyed over 5,000 professionals about this, 94% said they considered planning ahead to be key to productivity success. So it sure seems like we all know this, right? Obvious. But when I followed up and asked those same 5,000 people, okay, have you conducted a planning session ahead of time for the past 4 weeks straight? Only 6% replied yes. And then when I defined what adequate planning actually looks like, that number dropped to less than 1%. So what's going on here? Seems like everybody knows we should be planning ahead of time, but nobody does it. The problem is most people don't know how to plan correctly. It's not something we were taught in school or in the workplace. And we're sort of left on our own to figure out how to do it. And the problem is that it's not an intuitive skill. I mean, it actually goes straight against the grain of our nature. I mean, in a natural state, we're motivated by fear and plagued by bias, all of which distort and block our ability to see the world as it truly is. And when you can't see the world as it is, you can't plan effectively. For example, my client Anne got sabotaged by a cognitive bias called the mere urgency effect. The mere urgency effect is our tendency to prioritize urgent tasks over non-urgent tasks, even when the non-urgent task would have had a significantly higher payoff. Now, on its face, this makes no sense at all. I mean, we should be rational actors, carefully calculating the costs and benefits of our actions. But in reality, we're just emotional creatures who have the ability, every once in a while, to act rationally. So without a good planning process to counteract the mere urgency effect, Anne was constantly getting sucked into the unimportant work. And during a coaching session, she told me, Demir, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I mean, every week I'm telling myself that I'll get the important work done next week, but it's been over 6 months and I haven't even opened the tab on my computer for that most important project. So what's wrong with me? Even worse, researchers found that this effect only gets stronger the busier we get. So Anne was stuck in a downward spiral caused by a cognitive bias she didn't even know about without any of the tools to counteract it. Now, what she needed was an excellent planning process. Because proper planning helps us see the world as it really is, not distorted through the lens of our emotions and our biases. Planning is a tool to help us walk through the minefield of our bias, not just once, but consistently over long periods of time. So regardless of what methodology or planner or approach that you're going to take to planning, here's the elements that you've got to include. And I go deeper into these ins and outs of these practices in my Winning the Week masterclass, which you can sign up for free in the description. Check out that link. Number 1, you've got to learn a lesson each week. I call this a positive feedback loop. Planning creates a positive feedback loop, meaning that you can learn a lesson each week, or at least find one small way to improve yourself, to improve your performance, to improve your environment. And this is what creates exponential improvement. Because without this self-reflection, you're just going to keep falling victim to making the same mistakes over and over. Number 2, you've got to identify and then leverage your big priority for the week. You want to avoid prioritizing what feels important. That's what Anne was doing. And instead choose the one thing that will get you the furthest, fastest progress to your long-term goals. Then you want to apply as much leverage as possible, which just means that you figure out how to tackle that task or project in a way that it makes your life consistently easier week after week. Number 3, interrogate your calendar. You need to do an in-depth interrogation of your calendar. Gang, your calendar represents the 168 precious hours of life that you get to have next week. So you want to preserve that. You need to save it. And you can't just ask nice questions. You've got to grill your calendar like it's a scene from Law and Order. You want to find those inconsistencies, those errors, those hidden surprises. I call them landmines. And you got to diffuse them before they blow up in your week. 4th, you need to triage your to-do list. Gang, there's always going to be more to do than you have time to do. And that means that you need to decide what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. And that is called basic triage. So I want you to ruthlessly triage your task list to ensure that you're only scheduling the tasks that are highly leveraged or at least absolutely must be done. Now, I know it feels terrible making those hard choices, but remember, you're not doing it to be lazy or to hurt other people. You're triaging your task list to serve the greater good. Number 5, you've got to allocate time demand to time supply. This is also called calendarizing your to-do list because it's where you take things from your task list and put them into your calendar. Now, this is simple to understand, but super hard to do because This is where you make the choices about what's really gonna happen with eyes wide open to the consequences. I schedule out all 168 hours of my week, which means that every precious minute has been allocated to something, even if it's just staring at the ceiling and listening to my favorite record on a Saturday afternoon. This is where a plan becomes a plan, when you take time demand and allocate it to time supply. That's it. Those are the 5 elements that you need to have in any planning process. Now, pro tip, your entire process needs to take 30 minutes or less. Why? Well, because any longer and it gets so heavy that you don't want to do it every week. And if you don't keep it up, it's not going to benefit you. Now, that's why my Winning the Week method is designed the way it is, to deliver a powerful plan in 30 minutes or less every single week. Now, you can get all the ins and outs, the exact planning methodology that I created by signing up for my masterclass in the link in the description. Gang, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're obsessed with human potential and just living your best life like we are, consider subscribing to our channel too. I'll see you in the next video.